COVID gave salespeople in the United States a huge pass in the sense that they were allowed to not call and not boots on the ground. They didn't have to prospect because nobody would
Mm,
let them in the door, right? And they could excuse
right.
that they couldn't get a hold of people on the phone. But those days are gone, right? We can't let reps just get a free pass because they can't get a hold of people. I mean, if that's the case, then we have to redo the structure in a way that does work because it does work to put people on the phone that they can get ROI out of, generate, find decision maker, find pain point, generate leads for the salespeople they have.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk Marketing with In-Depth Podcast, where I'm your host, Nathan Webster, and I'm excited to chop it up with you today. Today, I have another guest that is going to be a great opportunity for you to, I would say, kind of lean into your uncomfortable zone, into where I would say a comfort zone where you should be at. And if not, my guest got you covered. Welcome to the show, Kevin.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me, Nathan.
Absolutely. I got Kevin Downey here, and I'm going to just go to my notes. Kevin Downey is kevindowney.com. If you want to go to his website right now, go to kevindowney.com, exactly how it sounds. Kevin Downey is a high-performing sales strategist, but I don't want to steal his thunder. So, Kevin, let me just give you the mic in just a bit because I want to say thank you to all my worldwide guests for coming in and listening, watching, downloading the show. And to my first-time listeners, welcome to the show. Get ready to take some notes because Kevin got some diamonds to drop. So, Kevin, please share who you are and what you do.
Sure, yeah. I mean, background has been in business for about a decade, specialize in sales team recruiting and training, as well as email marketing, infrastructure build, and management for clients. Also offer outsourced sales and business development reps. So when we talk about sales team, we mostly mean sales and business development reps for B2B companies. We do recruiting for B2C, but
Mm.
because so much of what I deal with is lead generation and that kind of thing, that lends itself towards B2B companies.
Okay. Okay. Now, I did say for those in the very beginning, you got to be uncomfortable because no one likes sales. So, how did you get into sales, Kevin?
Good question. So I grew up in an entrepreneurial family, got educated. Oops, sorry about that. Got educated in kind of the wrong thing. My parents kind of let me take my own path, went down the path of liberal arts, got my MA, started PhD, and then I quit school during my PhD. But
Wow.
but I ended up in the golf business as a sales representative for Slazenger, Dunlop, Maxfly, and then got recruited by Callaway Golf and TaylorMade Golf. Ended up with Callaway, and that's how I ended up here in Kansas City. And then after a little while, I just went down the entrepreneurial path and started my agency in 2014.
I did see that in 2014. Okay, wow. Wait, so you were in a PhD program. Did you in college, did you play golf or like how did you start? I know
I
you said you
did.
had
I
a
did. I
okay.
didn't really start playing seriously though until towards the end of college. So I wasn't a player in college on our university team. I didn't really get going until I was like 21, 22, 23.
Okay. And so obviously Max Fly, then Callaway, I mean the
Mhm.
big dog in the pond there, or the big fish in the pond.
Yeah.
What allowed you to say like this ain't for me? I'm now going to do my own thing. It's Callaway.
I mean, it's a rabbit hole conversation, maybe. I think we had a newborn at the time, so my wife was 8 months pregnant when we moved to Kansas City, and I took the position. If you're not familiar with the golf business, when you're on the road, it really is with equipment. It's a 7 day a week job for a
Mm,
period of time during the year, about 4 months. And it's just a grind. I mean, it's a young person's job for sure. It's very hard on families at times. The business has changed a lot since those days because we're talking in the 90s, right, to early 2000s. But I was on the road nonstop, and I think there was a little bit of a burnout factor after 6 years between companies of being on the road.
okay.
40,000 miles, 50,000 miles a year driving. It's a lot. It's a lot.
So it wasn't that you were golfing and doing some sales, you were
No.
selling.
Yeah, no, for those that aren't familiar, yeah, if you're in the equipment space, at least back then, again, it is a little bit different today. Sales professionals, you weren't playing golf. I mean, not if you were good at what you do and you were, highly competitive in your company. Yeah, playing golf was not something you could do. I mean, maybe 9 holes a week or something like that, you could sneak it in, but that's about it.
Okay, okay. So you still have a negative handicap like the rest of us then.
No. Oh, regular, yeah, normal, yes. Not a plus handicap. Yeah, I'm probably mid single digits or something like that.
All right. So I wanted to make sure for all you listening or watching that Kevin is in sales because that's his background. So when you have this background in sales, Kevin, what made you decide that corporate America enough is enough? I need to do my own thing.
Yeah, I just think, I was in real estate at the time, commercial real estate for a decade, and
Okay.
ended up with auto dealer local that really was having a hard time finding sales reps. I was shopping at their store, and they were just having a devil of a time. I talked to the owner, and I said, "Well, I can help you do that." And that's how I got started in recruiting by myself, and then just have added team members. We're 7 people. We're a boutique agency, and just ended up over time getting more into the business development side for sales, and so a lot more B2B type sales reps and recruiting, and then training reps on biz dev, and then building prospect lists, going back to the old days with Sales Genie to the new sales data, or contact data such as Zoom Info, and then Apollo, which is kind of our standard today and what we use.
All right. Well, thanks. I appreciate you giving you that background. That helps
Sure.
because everybody that I work with, like sales, I hate sales. What made you fall in love with sales?
You're just I mean, two things. You're solving a problem or a need, right? And also you're educating, right? In a true sales position, you are educating people, right? Because you're not selling people something they don't need or they don't want, right? You're having to educate them on how your product or service is a fit or a need for their company, right? So that goes back to my background and what I enjoyed. I enjoyed education in that regard.
What is probably one of your favorite stories that you can segue to what got you started into your sales agency and the services that you provide?
Yeah, I think just shopping at that auto dealer and him asking for, saying he couldn't find salespeople. And I was like, well, I can do that. I think I can figure it out, right? I had no experience with it. Got started with one Infinity dealer, and then started doing more auto dealers, and then it just progressed into doing learning how to do some outreach and using reps for that, and then eventually got into email and stuff like that. And that's how we found clients, and just the hardest thing in sales today in B2B is the lead generation part. The sales part isn't all that difficult. If you have a decision maker with a pain point, there's a lot of people that can handle that, right? Principals, their salespeople, all that stuff. The hardest part for everybody right now is the business development side. And that's where they need the most help. So building prospect lists, training reps on business development process, working with companies on building that process, looking at sales team structure, whether or not their salespeople should be doing their own cold outreach, or should they have dedicated business development reps, or high powered email, or both to drive leads, right? There's a lot of things that go into it.
So, how do you help first of all, what type of business are you primarily looking for? Who's your client avatar?
Client would be, I would say, small to smaller mid-market companies. So we typically work with about employee counts of 1 to 500, roughly, right? Do we go bigger than 500 occasionally? Sure. I would say small to mid-market companies, they have sales teams, or they're looking to build a sales team. And pretty much, I mean, we can help any kind of company that has a sales need, but B2B is where we spend most of our client base is business to business companies, everything in that space. So agencies to consulting firms to, product-based companies, manufacturers, distributors, everything.
Sounds like you do it all.
Yeah. I mean, when sales and business development, I mean, we do have clients that come to us because they trust us to recruit for other things, but our entry point into companies is always sales, or sales and, business development reps.
So, if they say, "All right, Kevin, I need sales," how do you go about helping them?
First thing is we want to look at what does their sales team structure look like at this time? What is their investment in their sales team? How are they doing in terms of ROI on that sales team? and look at that structure and say, okay, do we need to keep adding to this structure? Is it fine as it is? And we're just adding to it. We're going to recruit a rep in a territory or in-house or remote, right, in the United States. Do we need to consider maybe going dedicated business development reps for them to help bring more leads and appointments to the existing sales team? Right. And is that as someone in the United States, or is that if there's a budget issue, do we go down to Latin America and recruit there? Because we're always recruiting Latin America. That's about a third of our overall recruiting that we do for clients is remote reps in Latin America.
Yeah, I know. I used to have a couple of virtual assistants in Latin America. That's a big deal.
Hmm.
Interesting. Okay, so when it comes to that individual or person, you say they have a 1 to 500 person team.
Yeah, company.
They're struggling with their people, or I'm sorry, they're struggling with their sales. How do you know if it's a business development or a sales issue?
I mean, it's generally they know. I mean, if you ask the right questions, you're going to find out really quick, right? So, are the sales reps responsible for their own prospecting? That's one question number one. If they are, how are they doing in terms of total customer count? And again, are they an account executive, account manager, where they're constantly working with the customer base,
Hmm.
and there's a limitation on what they can deal with there? Or are they what we would call a hunter salesperson, where they're getting paper and then they're handing that customer off to somebody in operations or something like that, right? Fulfillment. That's a different kind of thing. So we have to look at what kind of business it is, who's the target audience, what does the current sales team structure look like? Are they responsible for their own business development? If they are, okay, where are they at in terms of customer base? How big is it? Where are they at compared to goal? How are they utilizing their time? How much time are they dedicating to business development and cold outreach? The number one thing we see in B2B anyway is sales teams who are not doing their prospecting. They do well with their current customer base, but they do not prospect well or at all. And they are always waiting for customers to come to them, or they're trying to manually email their way or LinkedIn their way to leads. It's not going to work. It doesn't work, right? Email is a very high volume power. It's a brute force game. Reps need to get on the phone and they need to get on the streets. That's it.
I was going to ask you, like, you gave a couple of red flags, but how can you, for a business that says, well, it's worked before, I have word of mouth, I have referral, but how do you know what are the red flags for someone that doesn't have, say, a true strategy? Those are some of the red flags. Are there any other red flags, like what you would say, like your sales strategy is in need of help?
Well, I would say in business development, the red flag is, are they tracking the reps making calls? And are their reps bringing in new leads? Are they bringing in new customers? That's really the first thing that we always want to talk about, right? Because that's sometimes the hardest thing. Some owners are and VPs are very good about addressing that right away, but some are very afraid of that. They have personal relationships with their salespeople sometimes and are very close with them, and they don't want to let them go. But I always tell them, look, if they're supposed to prospect, they have to prospect. And if that means you have to set a rigid schedule, then that's what the solution is, right? Like, for example, let's say the sales team can handle 100 customers apiece, just fuzzy math, right? The rep has 50 customers. 50% of their day should be dealing with their current customer base. Absolutely. But 50% of their day needs to be spent dealing with prospecting. And if that has to be scheduled so that the phone is put away, email is shut down so that they can do 4 hours of calling, then that's what needs to happen. And COVID gave salespeople in the United States a huge pass in the sense that they were allowed to not call and not boots on the ground. They didn't have to prospect because nobody would
Mm,
let them in the door, right? And they could excuse
right.
that they couldn't get a hold of people on the phone. But those days are gone, right? We can't let reps just get a free pass because they can't get a hold of people. I mean, if that's the case, then we have to redo the structure in a way that does work, because it does work, to put people on the phone that they can get ROI out of, generate, find decision maker, find pain point, generate leads for the salespeople they have, right? And sometimes that means maybe cutting sales team, right?
Mm.
Salespeople and adding business development reps instead, right?
Oh, okay, so I got to ask the question for those that are, say, the self-employed that have one, and maybe they work with fractional contractors versus an employees. Like, what does that look like for them?
Meaning the fractional people, meaning doing business development, or their salespeople?
Yeah, just folks that they're trying to build a team. So, like I have a couple of clients that they may hire someone to do appointment setting,
Hmm.
and they may not think that they need to do a lot of the prospecting. But what would you say to them when it comes to that?
Well, I mean, if they need more leads, which in B2B is again a universal problem, right?
Yeah.
I don't like part-time, ideally. I don't like fractional in that sense. If I look at a company where one of the principals is almost always going to be one of the best salesperson the company ever has,
Or
right?
yeah,
Not good at business
100%.
development, but sales. Find me a company where one of the principals isn't the best salesperson in the history of the company. That's pretty rare. Occasionally it happens, but it's pretty rare. So then the goal is, okay, you're busy, but you can take on appointments, right? That's my first question. If you can, and budget is an issue, let's go to Latin America. Let's get full timers down there and let's start there because you're talking base comp at $1,000 a month, 1,500 a month. I mean, if you're in business, you should be able to handle that, right? So that's what I would do as a first step and get appointments for the principal.
All right, so let's keep going. So let's role play. So I need a prospect. Well, no. Let me rephrase that. I need customers, and I need customers for B2B. So I'm gonna go to Kevin M. Downey and Associates or Kevin M. Downey Sales. I'm gonna go to Latin America. Would I pay $1,000 to you and you find me someone? What's that process look like?
Yeah, so we're just a placement fee of $3,000 for a rep in Latin America. And
Okay.
then we include prospect list for B2B companies, and we have a whole training set up on videos and stuff for the reps if they need that help, right? I'll even do some one-on-one time with clients after we place a rep. But the biggest thing is set them up with a phone. It's very simple. So you use, Quo, it's called now, it was Open Phone, or Ring Central. Those are the two we recommend. Set up the rep, put them on the phone full time. You're talking 1,000 to 1,500 a month base. They don't need a huge bonus commission structure. Typically, they're getting bases covering 75 to 95% of their pay, and then you just build them a process. Do the cold outreach, find the decision makers, see if they have the pain point. Again, it depends on what you sell, right? Are we trying to get catalog in front of them first? Are we an add-on
Hold
or are
on,
we
slow
a
down, slow
replacement?
down. Hold on. This is good. This
Yeah.
is good. What if they don't have a sales strategy? Do you just tell them to chat GPT it, or are
No.
you helping them build
Yeah,
build
no, no,
the
no. We help
script?
them build it. I mean, it's not that hard. I mean, we want a rep to drive them. If it's a principal that's going to have to do the sales initially, then we want that rep to drive them scheduled calls with prospects that have some level of need or pain point. Now, a
Hmm.
new rep doing business development is going to have to get better over time, right? They're not going to be 100% perfect out of the gate. That's
No.
impossible, right? No matter how much experience they have. So they're going to find decision maker. They're going to find out pain point, find people with a pain point, and then they're going to drive those people to scheduled calls with the principal and the company. That's the most basic way to start things with a small business where an owner does not have any sales team yet. It is easier to do that than find a sales rep in the United States that's going to do their own prospecting and sell. That can work, but they got to be able to make the investment in the rep because that's going to be a lot more expensive.
Now, are you responsible for them, or is the hiring company responsible for them?
We actually offer both options. So we can recruit and place the rep for a flat fee one time, or we can outsource the rep to the client, right? And manage that rep for them. Those reps, they typically run about 4,000 a month or so.
Okay.
Yep.
And what are some success numbers or stories that you can share?
I mean, we've been in business a long time. So I think one of the neat things I just heard, we just did a recruiting gig in Latin America for a client that was our very first international recruiting gig. So we started doing it about 5 years ago. They came back to us. Their original rep that they recruited through us is still with their company.
Wow.
That was impressive. Longevity with reps in Latin America is actually better than the United States, all things being equal. Certainly for business development, not necessarily
Wow.
for sales. I would say it's about the same, but for business development specifically, Latin American reps have better longevity,
So
right?
just reiterate them, please, for the folks. For what's the difference between a business model rep versus a sales rep?
So a sales rep, when we talk about sales, that's more general, right? So they're selling. So you have a decision maker with a pain point. If when I have that kind of person in front of me, I'm now in selling mode. But a lot of companies, the sales reps need to do their own business development, which is effectively a marketing function within sales,
Thank
right?
you. That's the part I wanted to get to. Yep,
Right.
marketing.
So that's
Yes.
business development. But in a lot of cases now, because reps in the US are so expensive and our cost of living keep going up, it is very difficult for small businesses and even mid-market companies to hire reps at 75, 90, 125,000 base and let them sit there and prospect for 6, 12, 18 months. That's a long time to build a customer base, or it can be longer.
Right.
Enterprise companies can do that, no problem, right? They
Mm-hmm.
can withstand that cost factor. Bigger
Mm-hmm.
mid-market companies can, but as we go down in size, it gets a lot harder. So the need is always for the smallest, the hardest pressing need is the smallest of businesses. A lot of times been in business a while, who are the owners are doing deliverables. They do some of their own sales, but they work on networking and word of mouth and all that stuff. But they've got to at some point get in front of new people. And they're trying to figure out how to do that. And the
Mm.
cheapest way to do that, the most effective way to do that in terms of ROI is get business development rep to drive one of those owners' scheduled calls. If they can afford a sales rep that's going to do their own prospecting in the US, and yes, you
Mm-hmm.
can find sales reps in Latin America that can work too as inside sales reps, but now we're talking a rep typically in the United States, and we're talking, again, base, I mean, typically no less than 50, 60,000, even in our lower margin industries we deal with, like corporate gift and promotional products and print and those kinds of things, right?
Mm. Yeah. Wow, that's a lot. And I mean, this is something that I can't stress enough to, because a lot of, at least the companies that I work with, I say there's a difference in marketing and sales. They're not the same, but they're married, and they have to coexist. And so for the folks that you work with, I'm sure you have changed multiple lives when your clients say like, I couldn't have done this without you. What do you think is one of the biggest pain points, or no, not even a pain point, a fear for them to move in this direction with you?
I think that, I mean, some basic fears that they have, like in the case of Latin America, is, you can tell that they're apprehensive because they think of the most basic things that are easy to solve. How do I set a rep up with a phone? How do I pay them? Are they 1099? Well, 1099 doesn't apply because they're not US citizens, right? So it's a
Correct.
moot point. They think of those most basic things and they're afraid of them, but they're very simple solutions, right? There's nothing there that's difficult. I would say it's you got to build a process. You got to build a prospect list, and you have to build a process. Whether you get a sales rep to do that cold outreach, or you get a business development rep to do that cold outreach to drive you calls, comes down to really budget and time, right? Like how much time do you as an owner? Most owners can take scheduled calls with prospects. If they're going to get one a
Hmm.
day, let's say one every 2 days, whatever it is, they can handle that. That's pretty rare that an owner can't handle that,
Right.
right? I would say that's the most like common thing that people come to us for. And then of course, more established companies with sales teams are looking at recruiting more salespeople, replacing salespeople sometimes, but also restructuring sales teams, doing a lot more dedicated business development reps that are less expensive, even in the United States, and graduating them into sales, right? And then, of course, adding email infrastructure when it's appropriate.
All right. We don't have much time, so for the next couple of minutes, as we sign out, if you will, until the next time, if somebody wants to work with you, what is the quick process versus a long process, and how do they immediately get in contact with you?
Sure. So website is kevinmdowney.com. We offer contingency programs, meaning we recruit, whether United States or Latin America, they sign a proposal and we recruit for them with no money up front. They do not pay us until they hire. So for the United States, it's $6,000 per placed rep. In Latin America, it's $3,000. And we offer a 90-day rep replacement guarantee. So if the rep leaves, quits, they have to let them go. 90 days, we give them a replacement, no cost, right?
It's
Okay.
awesome.
Yep. And that, of course, they paid the invoice on the front end. And then for our outsourced reps, it's $4,000. It starts at $4,000 a month That's paid up front. Reps are all full time. We have a few reps once they get going and performance is there. Rate can increase to 5 or 6 thousand a month, but typically it's 4, and that's where it starts. And the reps are absolutely dynamite. And then I manage those reps for our clients.
And then from there, either if you have a prospect list, you have a script, or if you don't, you still help with that.
We take care of all of that. Yeah, we take care of prospect lists for clients, no cost for both our recruiting and of course our outsourced reps that we offer. We build process obviously for our outsourced reps. I work with clients on that again, depending on their history and how big they are, so on and so forth. And then with placed reps, with clients that are doing direct hire, we will work with them on business development or sales process if they need the help. I would say a lot of the times they don't need a lot of help there, but they need a little bit. It's usually very simple stuff on the front end.
And I was just about to say, then you manage also ensuring that they get the outcomes that they're looking for.
Absolutely. I mean, the goal is what are we trying to get to, and what kind of time? Like a new business development rep is going to take a little bit of time to get their feet wet, and you're training and retraining, right? Even if they're very experienced, they're going into a company, and it depends on what the company does. Some things are much harder to get appointments for than others, right? If I have a promotional products company or something like that, right? I have a menu of items, or even SaaS in a way. I have a flat rate pricing for a thing, right? That's a lot easier on the front end of business development than say conceptual sales for consulting, for example, which gets a lot more complex. The conversation needs to be more dynamic. Those reps are going to need more time to ramp up doing business development and that kind of thing, or sales.
Mm. Kevin, man, I appreciate you. I want to make sure that we put your kevinmdowney.com, and what is that the best way to contact you
It
is
is. It's the best way because we have a schedule a call link right there, as well as a
okay.
contact form. That's the easiest way.
All right. Well, thank you so
Okay.
much for coming on the show today.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it, Nathan. It was great.
Absolutely. And so y'all heard it first. If y'all need help with sales, please go see Kevin. The link is going to be down below in the show notes on the podcast. And if you're watching on YouTube, it is going to be in the description. So go check him out. If you need sales, obviously this is the guy to go to. So, hey, Kevin, I appreciate you. Until next time, I wish you all nothing but the best. Dream big
Thank you.
and Godspeed. I'm out.